what is Zetachain and why should you care about it? So Zetachain is an EVM compatible L1 project focused on interoperability. Sorry, let me check. My clicker should start working at some point. Clicker is not working. Oh, there it is. Yeah, so Zetachain is an EVM L1 focused on interoperability. It provides a platform for developers to deploy smart contracts that you can call from any chain, and you can deposit value into your contracts and withdraw value. So what has interoperability been so far? We've seen centralized exchanges, we've seen bridges, uh, we've seen cross-chain messaging appear as one of the possible kind of solutions to these systems that are prone to fail. Right? We've seen bridge hacking, and we need a more kind of decentralized and reliable solution for connecting blockchains with each other. So this is what we've seen so far. It's good. It's good for onboarding users, for making crypto more accessible to end users, but it's far from perfect, right? We don't want to rely on centralized bridging solutions between chains. We want something more reliable and more scalable. Um, these solutions have been pretty restrictive. They don't allow all the options that you might want from systems like this. They're not standardized. They're not open, right? And they're hard to integrate with. They're also fragmented, right? They can connect a lot of chains, but they're far from being a system that is interoperable with all the blockchains we have. And we are seeing a huge growth in the number of blockchains in the industry, right? With ecosystems like Cosmos kind of having over 60 blockchains interconnected right now, and hundreds and thousands of blockchains out there. We need ways to connect them more seamlessly and efficiently. And these solutions, like bridges, are often fragile, and this is very dangerous when we move value, when we really kind of rely on these solutions to be secure. From the user's point of view, it looks something like this, right? You have a drop down with blockchains. Uh, you swap on one chain, then you use a bridge potentially as a different app to move to a different chain, then you swap there, and you have wrapped assets that you have to deal with, and if you want to go back, you need to unwrap them. So it's not very intuitive for crypto natives, and it's absolutely terrible for regular people, right? Who are not that familiar. But it can be different, right? It can be decentralized. It can be a um, much more accessible from users' point of view, where you don't have to move these assets manually, when you don't have to think about wrapping and unwrapping assets, where you kind of abstract all of this from end users. When you provide a system where you can move NFTs from Ethereum to Bitcoin, for example, in one transaction, like that would be pretty cool. Or move value between chains without necessarily thinking how it works under the hood. So interoperability really contributes to developer experience, and I think it's incredibly important because it provides uh, kind of freedom for developers not to have to think about all these infrastructure questions, right? How do you bridge your chain to Bitcoin? How do you make sure that you can move NFTs between your chains, right? And a good system of interoperability also uh, prevents lock-in. Like, you should give the users and developers opportunity to freely move assets between all the chains that their apps might be deployed to. Additional benefits include like interoperability with Bitcoin, like the proper interoperability that is decentralized, not through some centralized systems, and larger user base. If you just deploy on a single chain, you get users from that chain. But if your dApp is truly omni-chain, then you can um, can reach millions more users. So that's why Zetachain is important. That's the problem we're trying to solve. Um, we've seen cross-chain messaging from a few different projects on the market already, but and Zetachain provides that as well, right? We offer cross-chain messaging between EVM chains, but we're going a step further and um, providing a platform for developers to build omni-chain dApps. So how does this work? Under the hood, it's a Cosmos SDK based chain with common BFTS consensus, Ethermint for EVM module, for EVM compatibility. It uses an observer signer validator method. Basically, you have a proof of stake chain called Zetachain. It has regular validators and has observer signer validators. Observer signers run nodes of all the connected chains like Ethereum, Polygon, BSC, and Bitcoin, and they observe events on these chains. If users deposit value to Zetachain, an event happens on a connected chain, observers see that event and they vote on it in a decentralized way on Zetachain. So you can track all deposits and withdrawals in a very transparent way, right? So it's very clear from end users' point of view. On each chain, we have an address called TSS, and from this address, tokens are deposited and withdrawn from Zetachain. So node observers reach consensus on all the transactions coming in and out of Zetachain. As a developer, from your point of view, it's a regular EVM compatible chain that you can deploy Solidity contracts to, but by default, it's interoperable. Your contract can be called from any connected chain, and value can be deposited and withdrawn from your contract, which is pretty powerful. So we're currently in a testnet phase. Uh, Tens of millions of cross-chain transactions have been processed so far, and we have thousands of contracts. Developers are actively building. We're partnering with both small and huge players in the industry. So again, we provide cross-chain messaging, omni-chain contracts. Want to focus on the second part a bit more because I think it's quite game-changing. A bit technical, but I hope it's going to be useful to really understand how it works. So let's say you're implementing cross-chain swaps. So Zetachain is not just for swaps; it's a general-purpose platform. But swapping is a good example because it's simple and it's very useful. Everyone's using swaps. So let's say you want to implement your contract that performs cross-chain swap from Bitcoin to Ethereum, right? You can do that very easily on Zetachain. It's just like 50, 60 lines of code. You can implement your own cross-chain swap. The way it works from a user's point of view is a user sends a native Bitcoin transaction with some BTC to a TSS address. This address is owned collectively by validators of Zetachain. And once this BTC is received, observer validators notice that event happening and they vote about this transaction on Zetachain. A Bitcoin transaction can contain a memo, and this memo includes additional instructions that get passed to your contract as arguments. So you can pass arbitrary data from Bitcoin to Zetachain and beyond in a simple native Bitcoin transaction. When this BTC hits your Omnichain contract on Zetachain, you can actually implement the logic and swap it for another asset. Foreign assets like Bitcoin and ETH and Matic, are represented on Zetachain as ZRC20 tokens, which you can think of as ERC20s, but with additional features like withdrawal. So as a holder of ZRC, you can press a button to withdraw, and you can get a native asset on a connected chain. So your contract swaps one ZRC20 asset for another ZRC20 asset, for example, ETH, and you just use ZRC20's withdraw to withdraw native ETH. That's how easy it is to implement a simple cross-chain swap. You can check out our tutorials and see how to do it in practice. It's really that simple. So for builders who want to build interoperable Omnichain dApps, we have a grants program. Please check it out. We're currently in a testnet phase, launching somewhere in early 2024. So it's a great time to start building. Um, so yeah, please check our workshop. It's at 3:45 p.m. today. Um, Zetachain provides a great platform for developers to build omni-chain dApps, and I strongly believe that at this point in time, like, you really should think about building dApps that are interoperable and that do not limit you and your user base to a single chain. Build truly interoperable dApps. Thank you so much.